And so this isn't a situation where on my campaign I could simply say, who are the best folks out there, let's get them around a table, let's figure out what we're doing. And we're just going to continue to improve it and refine it and work on our goals. If you're doing it at the federal government level, you're going through 40 pages of specs and this and that and the other. And there are all kinds of laws involved, and it makes it more difficult. It's part of the reason why, chronically, federal IT programs are over budget, behind schedule. And one of the when I do some Monday morning quarterbacking on myself. One of the things that I do recognize is since I know that the federal government has not been good at this stuff in the past 2 years ago, as we were thinking about this, we might have done. More to make sure that we were breaking the mold on how we were going to be setting this up. But that doesn't help us now. We've got to move forward. Jeff Mason. Question, thank you, Mr. President. Today's fix that you just announced leaves it up to state insurance commissioners and insurance companies to ultimately decide whether to allow old policies to be renewed for a year. How confident are you that they will do that? And secondly, how concerned are you that this flawed rollout may hurt Democrats' chances in next year's midterm elections? And your ability to advance other priorities such as immigration reform? President Obama, on the first question, traditionally. State insurance commissioners make decisions about what plans can be or cannot be sold, how they interact with insurers. What we're essentially saying is the Affordable Care Act is not going to be the factor in what happens with folks in the individual market. And my guess is right away you're going to see a number of state insurance commissioners exercise it. Part of the challenge is the individual markets are different in different states. There are some states that have individual insurance markets that already have almost all the consumer protections that the Affordable Care Act does. They match. Up pretty good. It's not some big jump for folks to move into the marketplace. In others, they're pretty low standards, so you can sell pretty substandard plans in those markets. And that's where people might see a bigger jump in their premiums. So I think there's going to be some state-by-state evaluation on how this is handled. But the key point is that it allows us to be able to say to the folks who received these notices, look, the President of the United States and the insurance that the insurance model, the Affordable Care Act. Is not going to be getting in the way of you shopping in the individual market that you used to have. As I said, there are still going to be some folks who over time, I think, are going to find that the marketplaces are better. One way I described this to I met with a group of senators when this issue first came up, and it's not a perfect analogy, but we made a decision as a society that every car has to have a seat belt or airbags. And so you pass a regulation. And there are some additional costs. Particularly at the start of increasing the safety and protections. But we make a decision as a society that the costs are outweighed by the benefits of all the lives that are saved. So what we're saying now is if you're buying a new car, you got to have a seat belt. Well, the problem with the grandfather clause that we put in place is it's almost like we said to folks, you got to buy a new car, even if you can't afford it right now. And sooner or later, folks are going to start trading in their old cars. But we don't need if their life circumstance is such where, for now at least, they want to keep the old car. Even if the new car is better, we should be able to give them that option. And that's what we want to do. And, by the way, that's what we should have been able to do in drafting the rules in the first place. So, again, these are two fumbles on something that on a big game, but the game is not over. With respect to the politics of it, I'll let you guys do a lot of the work on projecting what this means for various political scenarios. There is no doubt that our failure to roll out the ACA smoothly has put a burden on Democrats. Whether they're running or not, because they stood up and supported this effort through thick and thin. And I feel deeply responsible for making it harder for them rather than easier for them to continue to. Promote the core values that I think led them to support this thing in the first place, which is, in this country. As wealthy as we are, everybody should be able to have the security of affordable health care. And that's why I feel so strongly about fixing it. My first and foremost obligation is the American people, to make sure that they can get what's There, if we can just get the darn website working and smooth this thing out, which is plans that are affordable. And allow them to take advantage of tax credits and give them a better deal. But I also do feel an obligation to everybody out there who supported this effort. When we don't do a good job on the rollout, we're letting them down. And I don't like doing that. So my commitment to them is: we're going to just keep on doing better every day until we get it done. And in terms of the impact on me, I think to some extent I addressed it when I talked. To Julie, there are going to be ups and downs during the course of my presidency. And I think I said early on when I was running, I am not a perfect man. And I will not be a perfect president, but I'll wake up every single day working as hard as I can on behalf of Americans out there from every walk of life who are working hard, meeting their responsibilities. But sometimes are struggling because the way the system works isn't giving them a fair shot. And that pledge I haven't broke. That commitment, that promise, continues to hold the promise that I wouldn't be perfect. Number one, but also the promise that as long as I've got the honor of having this office, I'm just going to work as hard as I can to make things better for folks. And what that means specifically in this healthcare arena is we can't go back to the status quo. I mean, right now everybody is properly focused on us not doing a good job on the rollout. And that's legitimate, and I get it. There have been times where I thought we were kind of slapped around. A little bit unjustly. This one is deserved. Right? It's on us. But we can't lose sight of the fact that the status quo before the Affordable Care Act was not working at all. If the healthcare system had been working fine, and everybody had high-quality health insurance at affordable prices. I wouldn't have made it a priority. We wouldn't have been fighting this hard to get it done, which is why, when I see sometimes folks up on Capitol Hill, and Republicans in particular, who have been suggesting repeal. Repeal, let's get rid of this thing. I keep on asking, what is it that you want to do? Are you suggesting that the status quo was working? Because it wasn't, and everybody knows it. It wasn't working in the individual market, and it certainly wasn't. Working for the 41 million people who didn't have health insurance. And so what we did was we chose a path that was the least disruptive, to try to finally make sure that health care is treated in this country like it is in every other advanced country, that it's not some privilege. That just a certain portion of people can have, but it's something that everybody has some confidence about. And we didn't go far left and choose an approach that would have been much more disruptive. We didn't adopt some more conservative proposals that would have been much more disruptive. We tried to choose a way that built off the existing system. But it is complicated, it is hard, but I make no apologies for us taking this on. Because somebody sooner or later had to do it. I do make apologies for not having executed better over the last several months. Question, and do you think that execution and the flaws in the rollout will affect your ability to do other things? Like immigration reform and other policy priorities? President Obama, well, look, if it comes to immigration reform, there is no reason for us not to do immigration reform. And we've already got strong bipartisan support for immigration reform out of the Senate. I met with a number of traditionally very conservative clergy who are deeply committed to immigration reform. We've got the business community entirely behind immigration reform. So you've got a bunch of constituencies that are traditionally much more have leaned much more heavily towards the Republicans who are behind this. So if people are looking for an excuse not to do the right thing on immigration reform, they can always find an excuse: we've run out of time, or this is hard, or the list goes on and on. But my working assumption is people should want to do the right thing. And when you've got an issue that would strengthen borders, make sure that the legal immigration system works the way it's supposed to. That would go after employers who have been doing the wrong thing when it comes to hiring undocumented workers. And would allow folks who are here illegally to get right with the law and pay a fine. And learn English and get to the back of the line, but ultimately join fully our American community. When you've got a law that makes sense, you shouldn't be looking for an excuse not to do it. And I'm going to keep on pushing to make sure it gets done.